Hey everybody, welcome back to Desert Streaming. Marco Casanova here, your host, and I'm here with Josh Glaser. Josh Glaser is the executive director of Regeneration Ministries and just a great friend to Desert Stream. Josh, thank you so much for being with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure, my joy.
Josh, you were with us recently at the Theology of the Body Institute, and I got to say, it was a joy to have you on the team. I've heard many great things about you, but to actually have you on our leadership team was a joy. You know, you bring kind of a youthful flair, and you witnessed, and you're very articulate. You have a great demand of the English language. I don't know if that sounds like a blessing, but it is a blessing. And so it was just a great blessing for us at Desert Stream. So thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Oh man, I was so glad to be there. So I got an email from either you guys or TOB saying there was this collaborative thing happening. And literally I was like, I got to get there. And then I got an email from Dean saying, hey, would you serve on the team? And I said, yes. And then I went back and looked at my calendar and, figured everything else out. Something like that. So I was so happy to be
here. You're like, I may have said yes too soon.
No, I think I actually did. I waited. I've learned over the years. I've got a wife and a lot of kids, so I got to check in. But my heart was there the moment I had the opportunity.
So what kind of, what attracted you about the Theology of the Body Institute? Have you been there before, or what's your attraction to John Paul or the teaching?
Yeah. So, I don't know how many years ago, but the former director here at Regeneration came in with Theology of the Body Explained by Christopher West and put it on my desk and said, you got to read this. And it's not like you got to read this like tonight. It's a thing. But it just, in his words, it just took the things that we'd been doing and thinking about for so long, much, much deeper, gave more root to the things that we had been knowing, suspecting, trying to convey to people.
Wow. And
just become a huge fan. It's just, it's beautiful and rich and deep and wide and really transformative, formative, and in all the good ways. So we've unfolded as much as we can and continue to try to do in our ministry. And so I've been to the only event for TOBI that I've been to was their number one heart immersion course. Their first.
Oh wow! So you actually did a course with them?
I did, yeah.
Oh yeah. Man, okay.
And want to get back and do more. So
that's great. And like the ethos of Regeneration, you equip men and women and families to learn and live God's good, holy, and beautiful design for sexuality. It's kind of your mission statement, which is beautiful. So it makes sense. Why not kind of resort to John Paul as a contributor to the discussion of how we can live robust in our sexuality?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because when I read, and I'm not a biblical scholar, but to read Genesis 1 and to see that man and woman are made in God's image, and or that this creature, this human being, is made in God's image, and then the very first characteristic that's listed about this human being is male and female. He created them, and there are so few Christian writers who park there and point to that as a significant component of what it means to be a human being.
Yeah,
which is crazy. They'll talk about the authority, they'll talk about dominion, they'll talk about those things, and those all matter.
Yeah.
But those follow the male and female He created them. And not only that, but His first command is be fruitful and multiply, have sex, have babies, fill the earth.
Right.
He wants us.
Yeah.
So there's such beauty there. And of course, in this realm of ministry, we're walking with men and women who are seeking to grow in sexual integrity, heal marriages, things like that. There's such scarcity of good, holy, compelling vision for what that means besides, I don't know, whatever the flaky idea of the moment might be. So
yeah, no, it's a good point.
Theology of the body.
It reminds me, recently we just celebrated the feast, the solemnity of the Annunciation.
I hear you, Marco.
Oh, no way. Let's see here.
Let me see if something happened over here.
Sure. Can you hear me now? No? That's all right.
It's me.
It's you?
Hold on a second.
Sure.
Let me switch my... Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yeah. Something happened.
Great.
So I apologize.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all. No, I was just about to say, Josh, as you were talking about sort of parking in Genesis and at that beautiful, kind of exegete on the man for woman, woman for man. I was just thinking as you brought that to mind. We just recently celebrated this great feast of the Incarnation, the Annunciation. You know how like the angel Gabriel comes to this Mary of Nazareth, and then just everything just unfolds. It's like it sets the whole salvific event in motion. And John Paul says something. I'm going to butcher the quote, but he says, the human sexuality entered through the main door in the fact that God assumed a sexual human nature so as to redeem us, not from ours, but for ours. And I love that. I mean, I love the fact that we can park in Genesis because we almost have to, in order to understand Jesus, what did he assume to come to redeem? And I don't know if you watch the Oscars, but it's like people, we need to park at Genesis. There seems to be some sort of disconnect with a lot of the ideologies today that we need to go back to the origins to understand everything that follows subsequently,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the, there's this simultaneous, delivery in theology of the body of both a greater just joy, delight, amazement, awe of, oh my gosh, Jesus, like, oh my gosh, like, and simultaneously and rightfully simultaneously, this greater joy, awe, amazement of, oh my gosh, me, you,
right,
male, female, us. I mean, I was, one of the things for me, and this happened just a couple years ago, but I cannot get my brain around it. I remember sitting, it was sometime during Advent, and just kind of chewing on this idea of God became flesh, and not just pretending to be flesh, not just looking like flesh, not just temporarily flesh, but God in Christ, God the Son became human flesh and will return in the flesh. Like he is now flesh. And I was like, what? I mean, I literally just thinking, I was sitting in church, like just all I could pray was, what did you do?
Wow.
Oh my gosh, what did you do? Yes. Are you crazy? What did you do?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
No, it's wild. John Paul says that each of us are given our humanity as a task. I like that because it's like, okay, I'm given this body, this humanity as a task, as a task to cooperate with God's grace, to integrate, to be reconciled to become a gift in. I like that. The Incarnation reminds me of kind of keeping to this task of mine. My task is right here. It's like, how can I be a robust gift, ordered, self-controlled in this body, Wow. I've recently just really dived into theology of the body. I studied in the seminary. I was in the seminary for like close to a decade and we like touched on it, but we read through the whole book as a staff. And, John Paul he's so dense in his thought. Which can pose as a difficulty, but there was something about his utter honoring of the human person, that each person has this just incredible dignity, just like this incredible dignity, that each of us has sort of a reflection, a unique, irrepeatable reflection of the triune God. And it's like, whoa, like just to be able to, I'm going to steal this from you, like just to park there for pages. I mean, the thing is a tome, you know what I mean? It, like you said, it's not like nightly reading. It's like, you gotta pour yourself like a cappuccino to get through a little bit, but there's something just incredible about it. And it's something timeless too. Like it's not dated, you read some works and it's like, oh, okay, that was for a particular time, but you read this and it's like, is he still like writing this? Like it sounds like it's so timely. So anyway, I love how TOB blessed you because it continues to bless me. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still feel very much like a novice in it.
Me too, man.
Both here and in the way I live it out.
So Josh, what are you denominationally?
I'm Christian. I'm a, oh man, that's such a hard question. I mean, relationally, socially, family wise, such a hard question. I am, I've spent most of my life in non-denominational churches.
Okay.
Theology of the body and the doorway that's been into Roman Catholicism has been such a gift to me, that, I often feel like I'm, kind of the guy standing at the door of the Roman Catholic Church, just going like, yep, for you guys, like, I'm right here. Like, not sure where that's going to take me in life, but,
sure.
More recently, I've been, just by virtue of the state of the world and the state of our ministry, certainly being more drawn to just the ancient liturgies.
Sure. So
non-denominational churches very rarely kind of, do much with church calendar, do much with liturgy. It's almost if it's liturgy, it's rote, and that means it's not from the heart. And I don't mean that they say that out loud, but
sure, yeah.
So, but in my own journey, just finding like I need something that's tethered to the church beyond this church today, this Sunday, both universally around the world and also in time, because we are spinning right now. I mean, it feels like no matter what, no matter where you are, what church you're in, it just feels like we've been hit by a truck and we're spinning, and it's so hard to be oriented. So to be in a church service where the center is Eucharist, the center is you don't leave without having confessed that you need Jesus and kind of proclaim the gospel to one another and all that is it's pulling me right now. So, and that's, anyway.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, I love the idea of liturgy as anchor, It's kind of what I'm hearing, like this sort of liturgical, yes, with a longevity from the past, like something of, there's a continuity from before outside of our own times, but yet the order, the focal point being Eucharistic, like it's all anchoring. That's beautiful.
And the Roman Catholic Church too. It's funny because what I grew up with was so, honestly, it was very averse to Roman Catholicism, and we might kind of charitably say like, well, there are Christians who are Roman Catholic, just like there are some non-Christians who are Protestant, whatever.
Sure.
But again, like, we are in a day and age where without roots, we are uprooted. There's just you can't stand on truths about sexuality without roots that go much deeper into what it means to be a human being and who God is and what Christianity is anymore. Kindness without roots is up for debate. It's and increasing number of Christians who are going like, the only path forward I can see to be like Jesus is to embrace something that is historically opposed by Christian teaching. And how do I reconcile those two? Yeah. And again, that's, one of the reasons I think theology of the body is such a beautiful expression and such an important thing, and why Roman Catholic teaching I think has been so valuable. Sure. No, that's beautiful. Interestingly, even Protestants like love to go back and quote Augustine or Aquinas, things like that. So, I think there's an instinct in us, a reflex, like, we need something more than just today. So no, that's beautiful. I know for me, like just growing up a Catholic, cradle Catholic, there was something really profound about the teaching, something that was ordering, something that was anchoring. But I love the evangelical spirit. I feel like the evangelical spirit has helped me to be reconciled to the teaching in a way. Like a sort of, I struggled with a sort of split narcissism type of thing where I wanted a good social saint self outer shell, that looked slick and holy, but yet so divided inside, and that I didn't know how to bring my need for Jesus, my need for him in my divides, because I was afraid to even say I had need or I had divides,
So there's a beautiful marriage, I think, that's happening, at least what I see in the Desert Stream world, of like this perennial teaching of the human person that is so anchoring and so anthropologically sound.
Yeah.
And yet this also, this integrative thing about, I don't know, the evangelical spirit of saying like, all right, let's like actually surrender to Jesus. Let's actually give him our lives, like if you're divided, then bring it to the light. Like let's form community of trusted members of Christ's body where you can confess, you can be known, you can be cleansed, you can work it out, you can process. I just love like both of those coming together, and that's what I saw at the Theology of the Body Institute, like these two kind of worlds just like colliding and like creating like this sort of magnetic thing that was just freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I think that's part, I mean, honestly, it's part of the gift that Desert Stream is bringing, I think, to the world right now. And hopefully others too. But I think, you guys have, under Andy's leadership have, you dove in and you're like, so you asked me, what's my denominational background? I'm like going, let's kind of, and he's like, I dove in. And so, so a man that came from Anaheim Vineyard to Roman Catholicism, that's a journey. So to be able to hold those without, rejecting one as false and foul or something like that, but to hold them and hold the good of them. And Pope John Paul II, that was part of the, I think the very first thing that Regeneration ever wrote about theology of the body. Again, our founder, Alan Mettinger, wrote a newsletter article. And one of the things he reflected on was how, I don't think he was Pope at this point. I think he was, because he was still in Poland. He invited some leaders from Campus Crusade to come in and
oh, wow, teach
them and talk to them about evangelism. Cause he's like, you guys got something going on here. And
yes.
So Alan Mettinger was kind of like, man, we can learn from each other. We can grow. And I think, I think you're right. I think we're seeing that. Like I don't know any evangelical who is serious about sexual integrity, who doesn't at some point come around to, I gotta deal with theology of the body. I mean,
wow.
It's becoming, I'm surprised. I pick up books. I'm like, oh, you know theology, theology of the body. Like, even if it's just a little bit, people are taking pieces. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. Amen. Josh, when was the first time that you intersected with Desert Stream and Living Waters? Do you remember this?
I do. I absolutely remember. Yeah. So I'd come to Regeneration, back in 1996. So that dates me a little bit, but, my own struggles with pornography, phone sex, masturbation, sexual addiction. I loved Jesus, but I was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, kind of going back and forth. So they had a group for men dealing with sexual addictions, did that for a couple years, started getting some therapy. And then the guy who was, one of the guys on staff there at that point had been introduced to Living Waters. And he was like, hey, we're going to run a pilot program, a 15-week Living Waters pilot program. If you want to go deeper, come to this. And I just felt a tug. I was like, I remember thinking like, I feel like there's just something I'm not uncovering. There's more, and I'm not sure what that is. So I came to this 15-week program, and it was hardly Living Waters. I mean, the topics are the same, but they didn't, there were no ministry times. It was just a very different kind of experience, but I was blown away. I was in. And so that spring he said, hey, they're doing this training out in San Juan Capistrano, Living Waters leadership training. And I was like, what? I'm not in any way qualified to be a leader. But I'm going to check it out because I like this. So I went out to the training at San Juan Capistrano, got open doors, long story there. And man, that just rocked my world. I mean, there are literally like 3 or 4 moments from that training that I continue to look back on. They were pivotal, anchoring, life-changing moments. That where God broke through in some powerful ways. And
was this in the context of like small group or ministry time or all of the above?
All the above. Yeah, just the whole week. There were a couple of large group ministry times, especially. There was one that I actually wrote about a little bit in the. I don't know if I know the Living Waters manuals changed, but about the kind of healing of the mother wound, sense of being stuff. There was another one around father wound that just a moment that was just so profound. There was a very tender kind of large group ministry time where someone was praying for me, and I just sensed that nothing was happening. But I remember just this guy's faith that something was happening, even if we couldn't perceive it, and just his willingness to just to be and pray was such a helpful model for me. And then, and then the last morning, I mean, I had to run and get a plane, but I remember just like we were having worship, and I couldn't stop laughing. Every time I opened my mouth to sing, all I could do was laugh. I just was so flooded with joy. It was just, whoa. And I don't know what to make of that, except that God is real and the Holy Spirit's real, and I'm delighted. So that was my first intersection. And the most, I guess maybe to bring it back to today, I remember one night standing on a balcony and thinking to myself, if I would move anywhere to be more involved in this kind of ministry, whether for myself or for others. And so at that point, I was living a little over 2 hours away from where Regeneration is, and just commuting or driving up for the groups. And I decided I'm moving to Baltimore. I'm going to be closer to this ministry. I want to plug in. And then the following year, I joined the staff here. So life-changing, great, beautiful, wonderful. If you're listening, you've never done a Living Waters training, you got to go do a Living Waters training. If you're listening, you've never done Living Waters, you got to do Living Waters. It's fantastic.
That's cool. I mean, Living Waters training was my first exposure to it, and it rocked my world too. I came as a seminarian, and I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I was kind of like super Catholic, and I didn't know like what it meant to like worship like this and come up for ministry time and, all that stuff, but I'm like, let's go. Like, come on, I'm ready to get some healing, and it rocked my world. So it's cool.
The first morning, they were like, okay, we're going to move into a ministry time right now. And I literally sitting in my seat going like, what's a ministry time? Looking around. Like,
I know,
what are we supposed to do?
I remember sitting down like my first night, and there was this pastor next to me. I didn't know she was a pastor, but I'm like, I don't know why I asked this, but I'm like, why are you here? Like, what are you here for? I'm like, the worst question to ask. And she's like, she just opened up like, oh, struggle with, same sex. I'm a pastor. I'm like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like kind of a world I had never seen before, Beautiful. I love it.
And that's just another part of the beauty that Living Waters, Desert Stream, and I know it's not only there, but it's so core. Just this, we're gonna strike the rock of all our pride and all our facade, and break something so that God's mercy can flow. And
Amen.
And not doing that for other people. We're not gonna hit you, but like we're gonna come and we're gonna be honest about our stories, and that doesn't cease to be a need. Like I've been in ministry for 20 years. Like I need places where I can come and say, this is the truth about me today. And not just the outside stuff, but like, here's the ugly. It's still there. It's still, it's changed. It's different. I'm focused on different things right now, but
sure.
Here's my pride. Here's how I don't give a rip about the person next to me. And I'm just thinking about myself, and where else am I going to go with that if not to the cross? So anyway, yeah.
So Josh, now you're the executive director of Regeneration, and you assumed this in 2006, right?
Yeah.
And how's that been?
God be praised. Well, it's a miracle. It's no testimony that God is real, because so the ministry started in the very late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
And so I was kind of, came much later than that, and then some changes in the ministry, and they were looking for a new director. And actually that happened twice. The first go around, they were like, yeah, you're not ready. And I wasn't aspiring to it. I was kind of like, okay, that's, fine. And then the second time around, they're like, yeah, we want you to step into this role. And it was, brutal, hard. Leadership is something I think when we're young, when I was young, I thought, yeah, sounds great. Like at some point I hope to do some leading, but leadership I think it rightly stewarded, it is an act of service, no less than any other kind of service. And there frankly, there are perks to it because you get to make some decisions, but
Sure.
It's also one of the hardships because there are decisions that are made that not everyone agrees with, and decisions that are made that can be hurtful, and decisions that are made that you make wrong. And but who's going to do? But I think rightly understood, like it's a opportunity to grow in Christ-likeness because he steps out in his vulnerability, acts definitively, and gives of himself even to the point of death on a cross. And so, I think that's kind of been the journey for me of like, how can I lead instead of pushing the sheep ahead of me to see what they think, you go ahead and see if it's dangerous out there. But to step out, and I'm still learning that, still trying to grow in that. But, that's the internal answer to your question.
No, thanks for saying that.
Culturally, externally, like the world has changed. I mean, we saw it coming in 2006, but, the landscape here in my 20 years being here has just been, it is so different. Quick flyover. I think when I first came here, if we would go into a church, it was largely, what we were working against was the church's belief, people in the church's belief that nobody like that is here. And so our message, gently trying to say, actually, there are people who struggle here. And here's how you can help them to come into the light. And I know that still happens for churches, but then it kind of morphed into, people are here. How can we help them? And now it's morphed more into, people are here and they don't need your kind of help because they're fine just the way they are.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, you've been hurting them all along. And not that people are saying that directly to me, but that's kind of...
No, of course. Yeah, that's in the air.
Some of what we experienced in the last 20 years. It's been a wild ride.
I think that's why I just really appreciate you and your work, because I think we experience something similar, of a complete disregard or an allergy to any need of healing and salvation in what we would say is sexual brokenness.
Yeah.
And what many want from us is just a sort of a benediction of divides or disintegration. And it's like, wait, I think Jesus, and with the help of his members, we can actually make this better. We can actually work through this together. Yeah. And many in the church saying, how dare you even want to try to do that? It's hurtful, it's harmful. Yeah. So thanks for standing in that. I have to say too, Josh, there's like a nobility about you, brother. I just see it. You have like a noble quality, and the way you speak is just very clear. And you have a real gift in speaking. I saw that at the TOB, the way you witnessed on Mother Wound, and it was excellent. Yeah. So bless you in that, man.
Thanks. Well, it's interesting. Even as you're talking, I'm thinking about the body, the larger body. And I know, being at the TOB training really did sharpen me in some ways. There were ways God moved, God convicted of even some areas where I'm like, I actually need to get clearer about that. Andrew's got that, he's, I don't know if he would say this about himself, but I've always experienced him as he's got a prophetic gifting. So when he speaks, writes, sometimes it feels like a punch in the face a little bit. And honestly, there are times I'm going to go, I'm not going to forward that. So, at least not, I'll forward it selectively because this person's not ready for that yet. But for me in leadership, I open and read, and, I take Desert Stream seriously because I need you guys. And there are people like that where I go, these people I need to stay in touch with for my sake and for the integrity of our ministry.
Wow.
Because it's, the waters are choppy. Like I said, we're all getting hit right now, and we need each other to stay oriented and stay moving towards Jesus, moving towards, as you guys put it, in multiple ones of you did the training. I love this, and I actually had a picture with it. You kept saying like, I just want better. I just want something more for them. I just want something more for me. And I actually had this picture at the training that this kind of stuck with me. It was almost like the circular library. I don't know why a library. Lord hasn't showed me why I'm seeing it that way yet, but it just went up and up and up, and there was no roof. It was just up to the skies. And so that kind of idea of, I just want more for people, as opposed to this, I think the current sexual, gender kind of stuff is, there's a ceiling.
Yeah.
This is as high as we can go.
Right.
The work here is done. And all we can do now is just kind of hold on and make it through and kind of pat each other on the head and nurse our wounds a little bit, which doesn't sound like more than conquerors, really.
Right.
Not that there aren't people who are more than conquerors who are walking in suffering, walking with, continued struggles and trials. They are.
Right.
But I think when we kind of put a ceiling on and say, this is as far as you're going to go. And so the best we can do for you is to kind of come alongside right now and just nurse your wounds and try to make you as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
That's hospice. That's not resurrection. That's different. So, and we're not at a place where we need hospice yet. Jesus is, it's Lent, man.
He's alive and well,
and you guys helped me to remember that. I'm grateful. So
Josh, you're a gift, man. Thanks for being with us today. Seriously.
My pleasure.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All of you listening to Desert Streaming, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Desert Streaming Podcast. For more information about us or to get in touch with us, please do visit our website, desertstream.org. We're so grateful for you. Thank you for listening in. Please do share this episode with your friends. And until next time, God bless you.